He said some of the curriculum that you guys have now, how you approach it, she wished they had it in her term, in her season when she was at WT. And we got to talking about how the university has changed, how education has changed, and how it's not so much of what the university teaches you, it's what students go to learn. And, promoting regional values, promoting a work ethic and those sort of things. And we've talked about this time and time again about the work ethic of the Panhandle and High Plains. Why is that so, especially at WT? Why is it not just about going to class and taking out of class? It's about setting a compass for life, really, a little bit about when you go to college.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think Rhonda's spot on about it. I think we have in some ways gone away from some of that. Part of it is, I think, a lot of university leadership, they believe it may not be their place to talk about values or morality or any of those kinds of things because there's so much contention in these discussions nowadays. But I think it's still important to talk about it. And it doesn't mean that everybody has to agree with it, but to be civil and respectful and talk about differences of opinion and point of view and so on and so forth. And it's a challenging situation to do that. And I think what happens is a lot of people just run away from it. And then you get this situation that's gone on with some of these big private Ivy League institutions and so on. And they in a sense run to the safe space of whatever it is that their belief system is, what they know they'll get supported on the campus. And sometimes the campuses they shield themselves from hard topics, and I don't think that's what we should be doing at all. I think we should run towards those hard topics and say, okay, we have different points of view here, right here amongst us at, say, WT or Harvard or wherever, and we have differences of points of view. Let's talk about these things and see what makes sense for us, and agree to disagree. I had a pastor once, many years ago, and he said the art of being a Christian, he thought, to some extent, was the ability to disagree without being disagreeable. The opportunity to say, hey, I'm not sure that's right. Let's talk about why, and not from a political partisanship perspective, because so much of that. The university should be talking about ideas and not presenting a particular ideology. I don't think, and that's a challenging thing to do. But I believe that's right. I think we should be doing that. And I think it's part of our call because fundamentally, I see the purpose of the university is to sustain, a Republican form of government. It's to help sustain it. All of the early founders, and there's all sorts of criticisms about the founders. Some of those are legitimate, but we can criticize people. I read something that was written in the 50s. That was basically the general way of thinking here in Texas, not just in the Panhandle, but the whole state of Texas. And that kind of thinking that would be unacceptable now.
Right.
Well, that doesn't mean we just toss out everything from the people that they had some ideas that were wrong. Patently wrong. And, you take what was right and in a sense, offload what's wrong and don't do it anymore as the society progresses. And if we're progressing, I don't even know if we're progressing. Some days I wonder. I listen to the news and I wonder, where's the progress here? So I wrestle with it every day, and I have to do personally what I believe is right in service to the institution and the students and the faculty and staff and the region that we serve. I have to do what I think is right, and I wasn't hired in spite of what my personal beliefs are, because I was very open about what my personal beliefs were. I tried to be in the interview process and so on. But in a way, because of them, that is what I think is important. But it is, Rhonda's right, and you see the news, and now even in the popular news, universities are never news for much of anything other than, a lot of times some things that weren't all that important. But that they're seen as in a sense, a tipping point in many ways in contemporary society. And there are choices. I mean, one of the things that that Harvard used to, and they're right now, it seemed very easy to pick on them. I mean, and I think they're going to sustain themselves through all this and come out better for it. I mean, it's make them stronger and so on and so forth. But they've got some hard questions to answer. But they present a contrast to a place like WT. We are not trying to, or at least I will never try to not attend to the local values that drive West Texas, drive the Panhandle, and drive the High Plains and so on. I don't want to run away from those values. I want to run straight at them. And, I thought to myself, it would have been interesting if Harvard had tried to find out what Cambridge values were. Geography is important. I have never heard anybody talk about serving Cambridge. And in fact, when Harvard started, it was in fact seen as the state of Massachusetts university. The people owned it. I mean, there wasn't all this prestige and all this big endowment stuff and the other things that time has provided. And, it's easy to be critical. And I'm not really, I'm just, to me, citing some facts. But they moved away from that. I don't think they see themselves as Massachusetts University anymore. And I want to be seen. I'm not Texas's university. I want WT to be seen as the Panhandle's university. Mm-hmm. And we represent the people that we serve here in our immediate area. And I will never apologize for that. I will use it to explain why I do certain things. Somebody asked me, and we've talked about this many times, so I'll be very brief with it, but somebody said, where did you get these values, like for the Hill Institute? Where did the 10 things, where do they come from? I said, look, I visited hundreds of high schools, grand total over 200, because I visited all of them in the Panhandle twice and then once on the South Plains. And I listened to people. I mean, I talk a lot, but I listen to, and I listened to people and observed how they worked and the things they said and did. Students, teachers, administrators, school board members, sometimes city council members came. I can't remember the town, but a fire chief came just to see what was going on at WT, had a relationship with WT, and I was very pleased to see him there. And I listened to folks. And that's where those values come from. I didn't make these up. I can't claim that I had this set of 10 values. And we worked a lot of discussions through many, many different values about the best way to characterize what the Panhandle, in a sense, who they are. Who is the Panhandle? And this is what I think it is. And I'm not going to say these folks are, they're missing the boat.
Right.
These folks are right. Where they live, they're right. They are the place. And I think we're separating the place from the educational process and try to make it, here's a silly word for you, placeless. We don't want it to be attached. We want it to be some sort of global sense of things or a bigger picture. And that might make sense at some institutions, but it can't overpower the place where the university is located. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful.
It has to have a character. It does. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, more discussion with the head of the Buffs, Dr. Walter Wendler, right here on the chat on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10-2.